So today's story I have been wanting to cover more in depth for a while now. It's the alternate universe where Peter Parker essentially becomes the Punisher. His origin would begin very similar to what we're familiar with. Science nerd gets bitten by a radioactive spider, but this time the spider looks different. It's darker, with the imagery of a skull. Peter goes on to take advantage of his newfound strength, defeating the wrestler Crusher Hogan. As per usual in the Spider-Man mythos, a promoter approaches him and encourages Peter to play up his act as a showman. This gives Peter the inspiration to create a suit for himself, saying, "I designed a costume and web shooters reflecting what I'd absorbed from that spider." The suit would be all black, with white webbing, angrier looking eyes, and a giant white Punisher logo on the chest, bleeding down the torso. He now had the ability to pay back his Aunt May and Uncle Ben after all the sacrifices they made for him. But in his hubris, he lets a burglar get away, which leads to the inevitable event of his Uncle Ben being killed by the same criminal. Peter goes to where the police have the killer surrounded and confronts him. He webs the criminal's gun, but not before he's able to get a shot off. And this is the first instance Peter feels his spider sense kick in, warning him of immediate danger. He dodges the shot and looks face to face with Uncle Ben's murderer, slowly turning the gun towards him. At the same time, a reporter climbs a ladder trying to capture an image of the Spider Punisher. Peter feels the guilt of not stopping this criminal before and vows to never make the same mistake as he holds the gun to the murderer's chest and pulls the trigger. He holds the web-covered gun as he watches the criminal stumble back and fall down. This causes the reporter to fall off the ladder, but is saved by Peter. This event would make headlines in the newspapers, but Peter feels so strongly about his mission that he would do whatever is necessary, even if the press would make him out to be a villain. Peter is then forced to have to make money elsewhere, so he turns to selling photos of the Spider Punisher brutally beating down on criminals. For the time being, he manages to defeat his enemies without having to use the gun that killed Uncle Ben. But the villains would only come back stronger, and it's when he sees the Goblin's armor, which creates many explosions to counter the force of bullets, Peter decides to upgrade his web shooters. He would now be able to fire different ammo types, like high explosive, EMP, fire, and armor-piercing rounds. When the Sinister Six kidnap Betty Brant and Aunt May, Peter is able to test out his new weaponry. This next part shows just how dangerous Spider-Man is when he shows no mercy. The EMP rounds completely fry Electro, and for good measure, the explosive rounds are used on Kraven. Mysterio gets his face punched so hard that he dies, and the incendiary rounds heat up Sandman to the point where he turns into glass and shatters. Peter lets the Vulture fall to his death after breaking his wings, and Doc Ock is killed by the shrapnel of his own tentacle arms. The hostages are rescued, but Peter realizes he can never let May know the monster her nephew has become. Criminal activity would decline for a while. Peter enters college, meeting Gwen Stacy, and his adventures as the Spider Punisher become less frequent. However, in this panel right here, he admits that because of the power vacuum he created, the Spider Punisher ended up having to kill Kingpin. One night, the Green Goblin follows and kidnaps Peter, revealing himself to be Norman Osborn. Norman takes away the Punisher's ammo and taunts him to fight. This proves to not be the smartest idea because Peter webs the wall behind the Goblin, knocking him out. A classic Spider-Man move. Upon removing Norman's mask, he doesn't remember where he is or why he's wearing such a silly suit. Peter decides to spare Norman, hoping his amnesia would prevent the memories of the Green Goblin from surfacing again. Eventually though, the Goblin always comes back. One day, Peter heads home to find Gwen's scarf on the floor, along with a pumpkin bomb. The Goblin holds Gwen hostage at the Brooklyn Bridge and tells Peter in order for Gwen to live, the Spider must remove his weapons and jump off the bridge to his death. Peter understood even if the Goblin stayed true to his word, his terror would never end. Peter prepares 3 rounds of ammo and fires, with every round needing to hit the exact same spot in order to pierce through the layers of armor. This kills the Green Goblin, as an unconscious Gwen Stacy falls to her death. Peter webs Gwen in the opposite side of the bridge, using her momentum to swing and land her on a nearby lift. He gives her CPR and saves her life, but with his mask off, she now knows his true identity. The body of Norman is seen one last time by his son and Peter. Harry vows revenge to punish the Punisher, and Peter wonders if being a vigilante only escalated violence to another level, as he made his way to tell Gwen everything, in hopes that she'd still love him. At 2:30 in the morning, Peter tears the Spider Punisher's suit and dumps it in an alleyway, deciding to choose love instead of vengeance. As a bit of an end credits tease, we see Frank Castle and his family gunned down in a park. Frank is the only survivor, and drags himself to a nearby alleyway where he stumbles across the Punisher suit. This version of Spider-Man is so cool to me, and I hope Marvel ends up doing more with him. I'd also love to have this as a playable suit in the Insomniac Spider-Man games. It would make sense to add it to Spider-Man 2 since Peter does go down a dark path in that story. As always, put your thoughts in the comments and let me know any other stories you'd like me to cover. I hope you guys have a great day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.